It is no secret that Knuckles is one of my favorite Sonic characters. He's a character of many ups and so many downs. I loved him when he was first introduced in Sonic 3, and loved watching how he developed into his own cool lone guardian role throughout the adventure games. Though we'd see him take a bit of a different dopey route when we hit the Colors era, I still clung to some bit of hope that Knuckles would return to the once strong and stoic, good-natured, and somewhat naive character that I loved back then. Then that second Sonic movie came out and wow! Just like that, Knuckles had fully returned to form. He was strong, he was stoic, he was a warrior with a moral code, naive to the world around him, but not dumb, and oh my god, the voice. Yeah, this wound up becoming one of my favorite takes on the character in a long time. So imagine how damn happy I was when I heard that he would be getting his own streaming show. We could get more backstory, see what his life was like when he was younger with his tribe, maybe even see what the movie universe's take on the echidnas were. What kind of adventure would Knuckles go on? One of self-discovery as he learns to embrace some parts of his culture's past while learning to deal with the darker sides of it? One of self-improvement, where perhaps he feels restless without an enemy to fight, but must learn to settle down and relax to enjoy life, learning that there's more to life than battles and seeking out power, obviously to avoid making the same mistakes as people had that led to them being wiped out? Maybe a story about coming into his role as Guardian of the Master Emerald. The possibilities are 140 days. It has been 140 days at the date of this recording since Sonic Prime concluded. And fans that were left unsatisfied with that show are now left with another show to add to the list of disappointments. The Knuckles show is a hell of a follow-up to Sonic Prime's lackluster season finale this year. Whereas I came out of Sonic Prime thinking that show had infinite potential but barely delivered, the Knuckles show only had one job, and it failed to do it. In case you can't tell, I really felt let down by this one. Which is not to say the show doesn't have some really good moments in it. Believe me, I will tell you about those few moments when we get there. But the overall feeling when this show ended was just... There was this dirty feeling I had after the last episode concluded, and I was left feeling an overwhelming sense of disappointment as the credits rolled. Like I had just been scammed or wasted my time watching this thing. So this review is months late, but I was trying my best to gather my thoughts. But the longer I waited, the more the disappointed feeling began to fester. I really got screwed over on this one. Knuckles got screwed over on this one too. Those fuckers over at Paramount Plus really got one over on me and did my boy dirty like that. This is not a Knuckles show, nor was it the show I was promised in the trailer. And I even rewatched that same trailer to make sure I wasn't going crazy. Yes, the Knuck if you buck one. And yeah, this is a different show than what was advertised. From the trailer, I thought I was going to be getting a show about Knuckles growing restless after Robotnik's defeat, deciding to go on a quest of self-discovery to find what he needs to call Earth home. The trailer even seems to hint at this as well.
This is not a place of battle, so I will begin my quest.
But the majority of this trailer was made up of the best Knuckles bits from the first episode, and a few fight scenes that happened throughout the rest of the episodes, with very few moments of the real star, Wade. Now the reason I bring this up is because this was what set my expectations when I first reacted to the trailer months ago. So you can obviously understand my disappointment when I didn't really get any of that. What I got instead was... Episode 1. This episode is great actually, and as far as I know it's the only one to be written by Jeff Fowler, the guy behind the movies. Now I only bring this up because every episode after this one seems to take a huge dip in quality. But this episode is basically the best of the lot. And the episode to watch if you want the best of what the show has to offer. It features Knuckles prominently for the majority of it, has Sonic and Tails cameo and interact with him, and shows a lot about his character while also being genuinely entertaining. There's so many fun references for those who play the games, like Knuckles using Angel Island style traps to take out contractors, the training montage that has a bunch of game motifs around, including the spinning sign. And even if you're not familiar with the Sonic universe, you'll probably still be entertained by Knuckles and the way he deals with the world around him. After taking things too far and turning the Wachowski family home into a battle arena, he gets grounded and has a vision about Pachamaniac, aka Pakachamak, who tells him that he must complete his quest as the last of the Echidna. What is this quest, you ask? Well, he must train a warrior in the ways of the Echidna. And that warrior is none other than...
The Shock Master! Alright! The Shock Master!
I told you. Oh, God.
Wade. And he has to train him to win a bowling tournament. Yep, that's right. The side character from the first and second movie that had all of 2 minutes of screen time combined, he's gonna be the main lead of the show. And the entire story revolves around him and a bowling tournament for some reason. I mean, I know the reason, because having Knuckles animated on screen costs tons of money, and every second they don't show him on screen is saving said money. Which brings the question to the table, if that's the case, why even make the show in the first place, if you're not gonna put the money in to really focus on the titular character? Or why not make it a fully animated show? Or even just an hour-long special? There are a lot of workarounds, Paramount. All you had to do was pick one. You know, when they showed Pac-a-Mac-a-Maniac, I thought that meant they were gonna do something to expand on Knuckles' tribe a bit more. Maybe show what happened to this guy as some sort of potential Sonic Adventure tease down the line, but it appears he's just kind of here. Don't get me wrong, he's kind of funny, but this guy is kind of a big deal for Knuckles' backstory and all the major events that lead up to the story of Sonic Adventure 1, so I thought he'd have some sort of significance in this show. But I digress. Knuckles meets Wade, tells him that he'll help him win the tournament. Not directly, of course, that would cost too much money. He's gonna help him by just being around, I guess. They go to a bowling alley where they are confronted by two GUN agents that I can't for the life of me remember the name of. They both work for the buyer. Who is the buyer? He's the dude that worked for Eggman before he momentarily got deleted in the first movie. Now he makes weapons out of Knuckles' hair, like how Robotnik made stuff powered by Sonic's hair in the first movie. So these two agents are tasked with catching Knuckles and confront him and Wade in the bowling alley for a sick fight scene that ends with Knuckles getting snuck and captured, leaving Wade alone to go and save him. Get ready everyone, it's all downhill from here. Episode 2. In case it wasn't clear, this is where the show really turns from the Knuckles show into the Wade show. With this episode, the baton is passed, and our boy will take the literal backseat for the remainder of the show, as we now settle in for Wade and his antics. This episode is all about Wade having to save Knuckles of a series of unfunny shenanigans, while the reason I tuned into the show sits in a cage for 85% of it. And while comedy is subjective, I have to say I was not a fan of Wade in the movies, and that did not change after I watched him in this show. I'm sure the actor is great, and a nice guy, but I don't find this character funny or entertaining enough to carry the show for me. His too dumb to live shtick got old for me after like a minute, and he's just not funny to me as comedy relief. This was not fun for me, guys. Anyway, Wade manages to save Knuckles with the power of unfunny slapstick, thus rendering the threat level of the GUN agents to 0, all before Wade decides to escape and hide with Knuckles at the safest spot he knows, his mom's house. Episode 3. This was the episode. This was the episode that agitated and upset me the most. I don't think I've ever been this tilted watching a show that was not intentional on the show's writing. This episode was dull, it was irritating, and most importantly, it really didn't have much to do with Knuckles. Once again, Knuckles kind of takes a back seat in this episode as we're introduced to Wade's family. His mother, who is admittedly pretty nice, and Wade's sister. Oh my god. This goddamn character is one of, if not one of the most annoyingly written characters I've ever seen. Everything about her is made to be grating and aggravating. Just antagonistic, bratty, and acts like a child despite being a fully grown adult and an FBI agent. Or as she says, FBI. And I know what you're thinking. The same thing applies to Wade, right? Well, he may be dumb and at worst unfunny, but he's not super obnoxious like his sister Wanda. I feel so bad for this actress. No doubt she's probably the least liked character of the show. I owe Chris Thorndike a large apology. Anyway, they have a family dinner that goes poorly because for some damn reason Wanda cannot stop being a prick to Wade for 2 minutes. Even going so far as to stab Wade with a f***ing fork. Meanwhile, the mom is just sitting there just kinda letting it all happen. And that's how I knew this comedy wasn't for me, guys. I think the whole dinner scene is supposed to be played for laughs, but as a black man who grew up in a traditional old-school black household, seeing grown-ass adults acting like children while the parent does nothing to intervene just stresses me out. The whole time I was waiting for the belt to come out. Or hell, it could have been on one of the plates on the table, or the table itself. Chancellor, whatever. This would not fly in my house. So I really had a hard time finding humor in any of this. A nitpick, sure, but like, it's just how I feel. But this episode does end with a fun fight scene at the end with Knuckles and the mother fighting around the Shabbat candles. Oh, there he is. I almost forgot about you, my boy. Yeah, Knuckles is kind of sprinkled throughout the episode, but he just kind of sits around and eats and occasionally does a reaction shot. Until the end fight, of course. But seriously, does this sound like a Sonic show to you? Clearly this is a poor man's Kmart brand, great value version of one of those live-action comedy Nick or Disney shows. Except it's not funny! This plot has completely gone off to something else entirely. How is it, 3 episodes into the Knuckles show, I now know more about Wade and his extended family than the titular character? But the next episode gets so much better. I got you. You thought I was gonna say episode 4 was horrible, weren't you? But you'll be shocked to find that I actually really like this episode. I know this one is extremely divisive among viewers of the show, with some liking it and others thinking it was the worst. So before you type your confused comments, hear me out. This episode has Wade getting kidnapped by his bounty hunter friend. And Knuckles, in order to save Paramount money, decides to sit this whole episode out. Are you seeing a pattern here? Leaving Wade to fend for himself. Though he does call him to tell him how to meditate like an echidna and see his battleground or something like that. Wade meditates and finds himself in the ancestral a bowling alley with Pac-a-Mac-a-Maniac, who tells him that they will reveal Knuckles' backstory via a rock opera. Now your mileage of enjoyment will vary on this, but I like the low budget stage play they did here. I mean, it's about as close to anything Sonic we're going to be getting from here on in. And at the very least, it is about Knuckles, even if he isn't present for any of it. It's here we learn all about Knuckles and his backstory before the movies take place. How he obtained the Flames of Disaster. Yes, the Flames of Disaster from Iblis in Sonic 06. Well, maybe not the same Iblis, but an Iblis. I'm still shocked that Iblis just exists, or rather existed in the Sonic movieverse before Knuckles bodied him. I don't know, the overall silliness of this stupid play while telling me movieverse Sonic lore kinda won me over. The song is fine for what it is, and I appreciate the visuals. Dare I say I had fun watching this? Even though it would have been better to have seen this whole flashback with Knuckles himself, but budget, what can you do? You see everyone, I can enjoy things in this show too. It's not all negative here. But it will be in these last 2 episodes. Wait. Episode 5. Absolutely nothing of interest happens here. Like nothing. Wade meets his father, another unfunny performance from an actor that's probably very talented. I think the amazing thing about this show is that it brings out the most dull performances from these actors. I'm sure they're all amazing outside of this show, but they can only work with what they're given, and what they're given is not great. But yeah, it's time for the reason you all came to watch the Knuckles show. Bowling. Lots and lots of bowling. And Wade too. Oh, and his family. Can't forget about them. Damn, Wade and his father seem to be getting along well, even though his father abandoned him as a kid. Sure would suck if he wound up working for those GUN agents we saw earlier in the series. Uh-oh. His mother doesn't want him to get his heart broken again, like after his father abandoned him the first time. And, wait, where the f*** is Knuckles? Oh right, he's sitting this one out. He'll be on this side of the building if you guys need him. We've got a bowling tournament and Wade family dramas to play out. Do you see what I mean now by this being a completely different show than what was advertised? So yeah, Wade's family gets held hostage by the GUN agents and they force Wade to lead Knuckles unknowingly into their trap. Or risk their lives. And that's episode 5, which leads us to our final episode. Here it is, the finale of the Knuckles show. Wade doesn't wind up betraying Knuckles. Knuckles beats the GUN agents and murders them. Legit, they are no longer existing in this dimension. Like, they're gone. That's it. Look at them. Disappeared. Disintegrated. Gone. Wiped. Erased. Deleted. But enough of that. Time for bowling. Wade must win this tournament because the fate of the echidnas is at stake. Or something. So this thing drags on for like most of the episode. And it's like watching a super unfunny version of a sports comedy movie. Like a straight-to-DVD dodgeball sequel. And the worst part? Knuckles isn't even part of the tournament. He's not even there to watch or support Wade during this super important moment. You know, The whole reason they had this whole adventure together in the first place? He's off to the side, eating, and then suddenly the buyer returns. Yeah, him. Don't worry if you forgot, I did too at this point. A big fight happens outside, Wade wins the tournament, and said fight interrupts the winning ceremony. Knuckles gets his power drained, then Wade has the same moment Tom had with Sonic in the first movie, awakening Knuckles with the power of home. Yes, after all of this, the thing Knuckles has found while standing off to the side, idly reacting to things, and occasionally eating, has led to him discovering that he has a home, and it's worth fighting for. So he activates his Flames of Disaster, which does look pretty damn cool. Can't wait to see him use this in the third movie against Shadow. And then Knuckles kills him. Ending with the cliche, yeah! And that's it. So yeah, this was not a Knuckles show. This was a Wade show where Knuckles cameoed sometimes. Wade Whipple, Wade Whipple, Wade Whipple. This is a character I never really cared for in the first two movies, and someone I still didn't care for once the show was finished. In fact, I think I came out of this show disliking him because of the sheer amount of screen time he wound up having over Knuckles. You know, the whole reason I was even watching the show? Hell, I'd say Knuckles is largely static during most of the show's run. Considering Wade is the one that actually has a story arc, Wade is the one that changes, and Wade learns something over the course of the show. What does Knuckles learn throughout most of the show? He learns that he likes Cool Ranch Doritos, he learns he likes delicious traditional Jewish food, and by the end of it, the most important thing he learns is that he finally has a jam!
This is my jam.
And speaking of jams, how come there's not a single bit of Sonic music in this? Not a single Knuckles track from the games? A single rap song? This whole show has this confusing 80s theme throughout, including licensed songs, which again fits Wade more than it does Knuckles. Really, that's it. Knuckles doesn't really drive the story forward. He remains pretty much the same start to finish, and he's more of a guest or passenger in his own damn show. You all know Knuckles is one of my favorite characters, so I really felt like he got on this quote-unquote of a show. Besides the first episode, which was really good. The remainder of these episodes has Knuckles either captured, disposed of, standing around somewhere completely off screen, or just sitting around eating something, or reacting to the characters around him. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna claim Knuckles is barely in this show like some of the news outlets, but to say he was the star of this show would be a damn lie. The majority of this show is about Wade Whipple, his family, the bowling tournament, and Wade's dad. The ultimate showcase of this is at the opening title animation card. Look whose name is front and center before the episode starts. Wade Whipple. As if to remind you that yes, this is indeed his show. Part of the reason this feels so bad is because they know. Those people at Paramount know half the people watching the show wouldn't have even bothered if they advertised this as the Wade Show. About bowling and his family, because that's what this was. A really bad family sports sitcom with Knuckles showing up every now and again. And that's why I have the great displeasure of giving this show a 3.8 out of 10. Possibly the lowest score I've ever given to anything on this channel. The only reason I didn't give it a 2 was because of the first episode and the fourth episode. I'm still very excited for the movies going forward, but this really made me lose confidence in them making shows of the characters in the movieverse. Look forward to the next Sonic spin-off series from Paramount, The Tails Show, where Rachel and Randall go through a tumultuous honeymoon phase after their crazy wedding in Sonic 2. Can they learn to trust each other when Randall starts getting calls from GUN about some oncoming threat? Tails might show up in the background at some point, but we're not going to keep him on screen too long, because live action stuff is cheaper. Paramount CEO says, "We are delighted for fans to see more of Rachel and Randall in The Tails Show." Yeah, I'm disappointed guys, but what do you all think? Was I too harsh, or was I not harsh enough? Is this better or worse than Sonic Prime? Hit the like button, subdue, and engage for the scary YouTube algorithm. My name is Wolfie, SG Wolfie. And this has been my Knuckles review. Remember, you're loved, you're wanted, and you matter. This video is brought to you by my patrons.